am hot. Henry Tyler tells me I am hot, so I must be hot today. Good afternoon and welcome to Table Talk with Brenda Perryman right here on TV 33, WHPR, Comcast 20 in Detroit. And before I begin our show, and our show is jammed and action-packed today, I'd like to introduce my co-host.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Ajmu, owner of the Ajmu Group. We produce the luncheon during the Auto Show, the Multicultural Media Luncheon.
Dr. Rose Moulton of Transcendent Life Counseling Services and developer of the Bloom 7-Step Transformation Process.
Good afternoon. I'm attorney Tiffany McEvans, now Dalla, also an adjunct professor at Thomas M. Cooley Law School.
You could always tell the newlyweds.
Yes.
Well, as is our tradition, we always read on this day of African American life in Detroit. We always read a passage from it. And on this day, in September 27th, in 1986, the Michigan Chronicle celebrates its 50th anniversary with a special edition. This issue includes historic information, story reprints, as well as columns and reflections penned by past and present team members, including Lewis Martin, Bill Matney, Longworth Quinn, Al Dunmore, Betty DeRamus, June Brown, Ziggy Johnson, Fred Saunders, Lawrence Casey, Dean Nolan, Rita Griffin, Marie Teasley, Aretha Watkins, Danton Wilson, Steve Hosley, Sam Logan, and others. Its current editors proudly and boldly write, the 50th anniversary issue, therefore, is published not only to let our readership know some of our past, but in the hope that it will get across the message that we intend to continue to serve, just as we've always done. And yes, the Michigan Chronicle has continued to serve. It continues to serve the community. Now, we have a special guest on later on in the show today, and I'm excited about that because it includes music. And I think my audience loves music. But before we start, we're going to talk a little international and national news. A lot of us know that last week in Kenya, Nairobi, as a matter of fact, there was an attack on the mall. And it was a Somali group affiliated with Al-Qaeda. And they just went in and they started killing people in the mall and so forth. It was just a terrible, terrible thing. And the reason why they're doing it is because they want Kenyan troops withdrawn from Somalia. Now, do you all, that was such a scary thing, and this was an upscale mall. Do any of you think something like that could happen here?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. It can happen anywhere.
9/11 is a proof of that.
9/11, and let's look even smaller, the Aurora Theater.
The Aurora Theater, so
Definitely.
internal terrorism.
Yeah, wow. But a mall, so many people are, and somebody a group, it was a group of them. They were strategically placed, and they just started mowing people down, and they just didn't care. There was like 67 people killed, 100 and something injured. And all for a reason. I don't know. It just seems like things have gotten dirtier and dirtier. Tiffany, I always have to go to my criminal attorney. Those people could not plead insanity, could they?
We don't know. You don't know if they're insane until they are seen by a doctor to determine if they were insane or mentally incompetent to stand trial and assist in their defense. So honestly, I couldn't answer that question without knowing any background or any information on the individuals that were involved. But what was most frightening, as you indicated, was that there were several individuals and you didn't know where they were. It was frightening. We were all sitting watching it on CNN while I was at work getting lunch, and that's what everyone around me was sitting there saying. It could happen anywhere at any time, and that was what's most frightening about the situation.
That is very frightening, and especially, here, you know how everybody walks so freely in the mall. We go into the mall, we just walking freely, and your mindset isn't on something like that. That's the other thing.
Definitely
Our
not.
guards are down, right?
Yes.
Yeah, as they should be. We should not live a life where our defenses are up 24 hours a day. That's just wouldn't be a life worth living. The sad reality is that it can happen anywhere. But we just have to remain as vigilant as we can. Can we prevent something like this from happening?
But
Perhaps.
the idea of mass shootings, I mean, just a week before in the Navy Yard, and then I go back to that theater in Aurora. You know what is your mindset when you go into a theater?
Not to get shot, I'm sure.
I mean, you go in, you want to sit down and
You're relaxing, you're having fun.
right,
Supposedly.
and then somebody gets up out of the crowd, it goes crazy. And like you say, in those individual shootings, Dr. Rose, you said this last week, it could be someone's paranoia. Everybody has a reason, but then you looked at the shooter and he looked crazy as a bed bug.
Yeah, and the Aurora shootings. And
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
they did find that definitely he had mental illness. But when we're looking at things like this, well, Al-Qaeda, we're not necessarily dealing with mental illness
No.
on that
Terrorism.
level. Yeah, terrorism. And we're dealing with people's beliefs, their religious beliefs that are so deep-seated, and they go just generations, thousands of years back. And think about even just within our group here in the metropolitan Detroit area, people are serious about their religious beliefs.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing to fight right there.
I think that's something that the United States really doesn't take into account when they talk about democracy, is the tribal and the religious beliefs of people in other countries.
Absolutely.
Because you go to Africa, there's many tribes in Africa, they all don't get along. I mean, throughout the Middle East, there are religious different. A lot of the wars have been religious wars.
Definitely.
In the name of religion.
Now,
Absolutely.
I can't see fighting anybody over religion.
And sometimes I think people use religion as an excuse to justify violence as well. Sometimes we can take things and turn them to benefit us and say it's religion, if you guys know what I mean.
Yeah,
You can
but
do
I think across the board in religion, it's supposed to be thou shalt not kill.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Well, that's our religious
Yeah,
beliefs, right?
yeah.
That's right.
That's, everyone, there's so many different religious beliefs out there where people can, like Cheryl was saying, in the name of their particular religion, justify their actions. And again, that's difficult to fight there. That's difficult to fight. That's difficult to conquest, which is why when we go to war with some of these groups or countries who are fighting for their religious beliefs, it's just a never-ending battle. It honestly is a never-ending battle because a person is willing to die, as we see with suicide bombers and these instances here. They're willing to die for what they believe is their absolute truth.
Well, one more thing on this. Did any of you see the videotape of the shooter at the Navy Yard?
Yes. It looked like he was in combat or something. Like he was like a SWAT person. I mean, like he was really looking for not.
Why do you
It was
say
like-
that? Because
It was just the way he, when you look at shows and the police are tracking down somebody and there's somebody covering them, how you go up against the wall and you're looking around, like, he was targeting somebody, but it wasn't like, it was just like he was in combat, like he was at a war.
he was
or something.
ducking. He was
yeah,
ducking
and there was
in.
nobody around. Then you could see at the very end of the hall, people were just running,
Yeah. In his mind, he was in a war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yesterday, by the way, I was in Ferndale and I was stopped at the light, and this man was stood on the corner. He was just talking up a storm to himself, and I started thinking about Dr. Rose. I mean, not that you talked.
I was going to say, you see me
Wait
when
a
I do
minute.
that?
No, but he was carrying on this hardcore conversation. And as he walked across the street, he was still talking. And he was talking, and nobody else was around him or he was with anybody. What do you call that, Dr. Rose?
Well, again, I can't diagnose him based on those. I can tell you the symptoms are typically characteristic of someone suffering from a psychosis, be it schizophrenia or some other psychosis, mental illness. But we see that a lot. I go drive into the city every day in the New Center area, and I see the same two people, not together, but separate. But they're in that area talking to themselves every single day. And again, it's typically just someone with untreated psychosis that is having their own internal reality and own internal conversation auditory hallucinations that they're responding to.
Now, it's okay if we talk to ourselves like, if I'm looking for something, I say, now, Brenda, you know where you put it.
No, that's not okay either. No, I'm just
Don't
kidding.
say that. Don't say,
I
don't
was like,
say,
oh no.
oh no, put me in. Okay, the White House is announcing that they're going to give about $300 million in aid to Detroit. They're not going to bail out Detroit, but they're going to give it for $150 million for blight eradication, $65 million in community development block grant funding. Another $25 million could hire as many as 150 new firefighters in the city. Some $24 million in federal resources have been tied up that should go to repairing buses and installing security cameras and the like. That's exciting, isn't it?
That's great
Yeah.
news.
It's very
Yeah.
exciting. Just hopefully it comes to fruition because some of those funds have already been in place. They just haven't been assessed as of yet. So,
And they took it back? The nation.
well, they hadn't been assessed by the city as of yet. So hopefully the funding goes where it needs to go and it actually happens.
And it's managed by people who have the city's best interest
Well,
at heart.
I had Sheriff Benny Napoleon on this morning, and he was talking about the fact that he had a conversation with President Obama at an event that President Obama came to last year. I think it was in Dearborn or something like that, and where he talked to him about Detroit. And he also said that during the inaugural address, President Obama only mentioned Detroit. Detroit was the only city that he mentioned.
Yeah, I remember that.
And hopefully some things can happen. I know, like I say, they're not going to start bailing out cities because once they do, they're going to be everybody's going to be asking for a bailout,
Right.
don't you think?
Right.
And that's not enough to bail out Detroit.
And he
Anyway.
also said that there are going to be more police officers.
I think that we as citizens also need to take a bigger stance and a greater concern with our own surroundings in our own area and start the bailout within our own communities, picking up
Right.
the trash in front of your home or your neighbor's home, cutting the grass next door to you if it's vacant. So, I mean, our kids are back in school. We also need to take a greater stance as citizens for our own community.
Right, absolutely. Well, you know, it's being proactive. Don't let the inmates take over the asylum. You have to do something for yourself. And I think a lot of times people in neighborhoods succumb to that house down the street that has all the wild people in it. So everybody just kind of stays inside. They don't call. They're scared to call and drop a dime on the house and everything. Those things, they definitely happen, and that's unfortunate. But both candidates have told me that they want to turn that around, you know, and have ways for people to call in and report those houses and not get reported because, you know, you'd be in hiding. Or just before you move, let me call and talk about this, crack house. Now, next week, people can start signing up for the Affordable Care Act.
That's great.
How many of you understand that?
I don't know if everybody really understands all of it. I think everybody has bits and pieces that they kind of get. I mean, at least for me, I understood it to be if you don't have insurance now, there'll be something for you where you can enroll now. If you don't currently have insurance, whether it's through you lost your job or you start a business and you don't have insurance. Now that's what I assume.
I would like to see them do some type of PSA that really breaks it down, simplifies it. Reminiscent of the old school conjunction junction. What is that?
What's your
Schoolhouse Rock.
Kind of explain it to me like I'm a 6-year-old.
Exactly. Seriously.
There are a lot of
explain
things-
it to me like I have a 4th grade reading level because that's what it needs to be explained as. It's a lot of confusion out there. It's a lot of confusion, and I know it's a way it can be simplified. It's just a matter of getting people out there who can package it, like I say, to a public service announcement where people can understand what this program is all about.
Generally, I read it, then I read it again, and something else comes different. I get a little confused about it, but I think it's mandated that everybody should have some type of health care. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
Yes.
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 Tiffany, do you know anything about it at all?
It's that everyone should be able to have health care, regardless of your financial background, where you work, what type of ailments you have. You cannot be turned away if you have
Pre-existing.
pre-existing conditions.
Okay, Dr. Rose, do you take, medical insurance?
Yes, I take medical insurance. Most of the major carriers. Honestly, and I don't know how this plan is going to affect healthcare, but be it physical and mental health care workers, because one of the biggest problems over the last decade for a lot of my colleagues, especially the well-seasoned ones and the ones that you want to see, is that some of us have been so turned off by managed care that we've gone to not accepting managed care, cash only. I've even heard of medical doctors. A good friend of mine who's also a psychologist, her OBGYN closed her practice and now only accepts cash only.
Really?
And she's thriving. She's thriving because of the paperwork and the red tape and all of that we have to do has taken over so much time in our practice. Many of us really shy away from taking on new clients or taking on individuals whose health insurance we know we've had difficulty with in the past. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out.
Well, don't you have to write it up a certain way to make sure it falls in some guidelines?
It's so many different managed healthcare facilities out there. As many I have, there are more facilities out there than clients I have, quite honestly. So I can have 20 clients and each one of them has a different healthcare program. That's a lot because everyone's different. They're going to reimburse at different rates. Some of them won't cover. Some people have to meet their deductibles before they cover. It's a whole, it's like I would have had to go to college to understand all of this before I start treating my patients.
Really?
So it's turned a lot of us off. It's turned a lot of us, like I've been in the field now practicing for 15 years, and I really have gotten away from a lot of, even stopped accepting some insurance companies because of the hoops that they have you jump through just to get reimbursement.
Well, with your friend whose doctor stopped accepting insurance, are her rates lower that people can pay out of pocket?
Her rates are, let's say lower. I'm sure they're comparable to what they were before. So what I hear from my friend is that her practice is thriving. So for instance, and I've heard other doctors do the same, maybe your annual appointment, and we all go for annuals with our
Physical,
OBGYN,
right.
It maybe runs about $150. Okay, testing may be a little extra. So there, from what she says, are different breaks she can get because she's working with other facilities too who have done the same thing. So they're looking to make it comparable where they can make a living. I remember years ago, I think it was 2020, did a story about some town where their doctors, they decided to give all their medical doctors, it was a small town, a flat rate of a six-figure income, so like $100,000 a year, in agreement to treating the people in that town. And it was like a pilot thing they tried. And both the doctors and the residents of that town loved it. They loved it.
Really?
Because they got great health care. And it wasn't all that, we can't treat this, we can't cover that, that type of thing. The physicians, a lot of us who have student loans, that we have to pay back, even though we have the big degrees, they were able to meet their basic needs and have a good income coming in and run a practice. So, it's going to be interesting to see how Obamacare, what we see now is not going to be what we see 10 years from now. We know that. It's going to evolve, it's going to change, it's going to morph. But it'll be interesting to see ultimately what becomes of this program.
Well, I have down here the first thing you need to know. Most Americans must have health care by March 31st, 2014. A lot of people will keep getting it through work, but for everyone else, states will offer an exchange where people can purchase insurance from competing insurance companies. Enrollment begins next week, October 1st, and coverage begins January 1st. So next week, President Obama says that it's called different things in different states also. And that's why the Republican Party has been fighting real hard to try to defund it, also because President Obama claims that it really will work. And then that Ted Cruz did that whatever this week. Did anyone?
Filibuster?
It wasn't a filibuster. Really.
Well,
It
when
was a
I saw
fake-
he
it
was,
was a
reading
fake-
green eggs and ham,
Yeah.
I was just like
he's,
really,
He's real Tea Party.
yeah.
He's real Tea Party.
I didn't know. I just couldn't believe they could do that. I mean, I know, I thought they had to talk about government topics. I didn't know they could read children's stories. I just didn't know that.
When you're filibustering.
Yeah.
I guess you just.
But
say
that was
whatever.
a fake filibuster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sick and elderly may pay less. Insurers can't penalize you for any underlying health problems except your smoking habit. Isn't that interesting? So you may save if you have been paying more because of a medical condition. Now, here's the other thing that might bother some people. Your choice of doctor may be limited. To compete, plans may limit you to 1/3 or to 1/2 of the doctors and hospitals you might have today. How do you all feel about that if you had to get, none of you are doing Obamacare, right?
No. I until I got married last February, I was carrying my own policy. So I chose my own doctor and such. So I would have likely been affected by this. Now, based on my husband's employer, I'm able to get under his insurance. But that would upset me if I had to leave a doctor that I've been seeing for
Right.
years and years.
Right.
But it's probably one of those trade-offs that's just going to be one of the unintended consequences of the program.
Now, Tiffany, you have a great doctor that you love, right?
I do. I do.
You'd hate
Dr.
to leave
Patricia
her.
Harold, I love her dearly, and I would hate to leave her. And actually, I did have my own health care, and there were certain things under the plan that I was paying for on my own that were not covered. My birth control was one, and it was rather interesting. The company would cover Viagra, but it did not cover my birth control. And I found that to be offensive. Just it was just ridiculous. So I let that plan go. But
Sexist.
very much so. And as Dr. Rose said, now I'm under my husband's plan as well. So
There are
had I
benefits
not,
to jump in that
There, that's some good insurance.
Look at them. Look at them. And I know you're married into healthcare too. And I just retired into it. So I'm lucky to have it. But I do know people who are very close to me who do not have. I mean, they're close to me and they're almost my age, or they're my age or older, and they have no health care
Yeah.
because it's so expensive.
but understanding that, I did when I carried my own health insurance, because there were certain things that they didn't cover, I actually ended up letting it go, and I have been paying my doctor out of pocket because I liked her practice. I'm comfortable with her, and I was blessed to be able to pay out of pocket. Everyone doesn't have that option, but for me, it was more important to stay with her, seeing as though I was comfortable with her and her practice, as opposed to going somewhere else just because they were taking that particular insurance.
And that
I
must
had.
be taken into account because you get to know your doctor.
Yeah.
You feel comfortable with your doctor. You like to talk to your doctor. I know my internist. I just we're close. I'm his favorite patient. No, for real, I am his favorite patient. But he had a tragedy a few years ago, and I think that's another reason. I tracked him down because I read about it in the paper where his son was killed, and in an accident. And we had talked about families, and sometimes, and you go to trust them, and the fact if I had to leave them, that would be just a deal.
Yeah.
That has happened to me before. My husband works at Ford, and we had to change carriers. It was mandated. They just sent something saying, we're no longer using this one. You now have to use this one. And so I know that's happened to us a couple of times where we really liked our doctors. We had to leave because they weren't in the plan anymore. It's happened a couple of times.
Gosh, and to get adjusted to another person.
Yeah, and another plan, because, I mean, if you're going from one carrier to another, the coverage is different. There are some things that
Absolutely.
you don't get, or there'll be things that you like from this one that you didn't get from that one. But
About the penalty. Let's talk about the penalty. Who will pay a penalty? If you haven't bought insurance by March 31st, 2014, a penalty might be added to your tax bill. Oh, gosh. Tax bill. Oh. The greater of $95 per adult, or 1% of the household income in 2014, climbing to $695 per adult, or 2.5% of the income by 2016. But some people will be exempt. People who would have to pay more than 8% of their income for health insurance, and poor adults who live in states that aren't expanding Medicaid. I am like so confused
Yeah.
on the Medicaid
Because
thing.
Medicaid will still be there. It'll still be there. So it'll still be there for folks who are underemployed or, not employed. That's still going to be a service available.
So what would be the difference between somebody who was to buy their, you have to be a certain economic
Yeah, at a
thing
certain level.
for Medicaid.
that they compute. But again, we need a PSA. We need a
We
public
need-
service
hey.
announcement. One of the things I do love about the act is that they're allowing kids to stay on until they're 26. And having a son who will be graduating college next year, and I know in this economic climate, it
Yeah.
may take him some time, as he pursues graduate school and employment, to find something that's going to provide him with good health coverage. It's good to know he'll be able to stay under hours for another 5 years.
Well,
at
that's
least.
good because say if he wants to go to grad school or something like that, the fact that he doesn't get kicked off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
I know my daughter was on mine till she was 25, and I think she'd be on it now. No, she has her own health care, but she had me, Now, Rochelle Riley wrote a column. Detroit emergency manager Kevin Orr says it's time for the state to run Belle Isle. Do you all have any thoughts on that?
I
Totally
think that
agree.
they should have taken the option that was put out there for them to pay. It was only like what, $10. It's just like
Snyder-
Metro Park.
When Snyder put it out there.
You pay to go to Metro Park and it's nice. I think that it's an absolutely great idea, and I don't think there was anything wrong with it. The original option was not for the state to take over Belle Isle, but for them to manage it to get it back where it used to be and where it should be. I have absolutely no problem with it.
Like they say, we have a golf course on Belle Isle, but it's not in any condition to be a golf course. There are a lot of things that are on Belle Isle, but I think something is happening there because Michelle, my producer, we were on Belle Isle to shoot a video, and we saw a lot of construction going on.
So maybe it's already happening.
A lot of people will, and I don't know if they lease or rent out space for special programs that they do, like the Grand Prix. I was out there last year, and they were filming an episode of, what is that, Wipeout.
Really?
Yeah, a Wipeout episode there, a television program, and they had constructed all these contraptions up, if you've ever seen the show, for the taping. So it's someone's getting some funds for these type of things. It's a beautiful island. It's
It
a beautiful
is.
island. I would love to
It
see
is
it
gorgeous.
just be restored.
Because the way it was years ago, I think about maybe your childhood, Rose, it was nice. But my childhood, it was the bomb. And I remember when I was pregnant with my first child, and that was back in 1973, I remember going out there. My husband and I would just go out there, and I would sit by the side of the water on some rocks. It was just so nice, so peaceful. You didn't have to worry about anything, and you could actually use the bathrooms.
Yeah.
They have these porta-johns now.
Yeah. Oh, so the bathrooms aren't operable now?
I don't
you
know.
wouldn't go in there. You wouldn't
They don't-
see.
I don't know, but you don't know who's inside the bathroom when you. I mean, I hate to say.
Yeah, some of the bathrooms. I know I did the
Really?
3K walk with UNICEF,
yeah.
and the restrooms were they were working. That was near the. They said it was a casino. See, I didn't grow up here, so I don't really know. Everything looks like what it did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have anything to compare it
Compare
to.
to.
But yeah, those restrooms were working. But when we were walking around the island, I did say, it's a really beautiful place, but it could be, a lot more. I know
It
they
could be
said
a
there was a
tourist
zoo there,
attraction, yeah.
aquarium. I didn't know all those things were there until people said, "Oh, they used to have this, they used to have that." But
Well, I'll test your real knowledge of Belle Isle. Have any of you ever heard of Tanglewood Drive? See,
No.
everybody, they're not from back in the day.
no,
Tanglewood. Benny Napoleon knew exactly what I meant when I said Tanglewood Drive. He said, "Don't say that."
Oh, is that
I knew
where
a
the-
giant
is-
slide.
No, Tanglewood. That's
Where the cops will come flash their light in
Yes.
on you.
That's where the cops would come flash their light,
See, she
Brenda,
knows.
look.
I mean, I was just out there with friends.
Yeah, we know.
Tanglewood. Oh, hence the name Tanglewood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Tanglewood.
gotcha.
You know, jive.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a matter of everybody said. Well, everybody knew where you were going. You drive around the thing, you find Tanglewood, and you go down that street, darkest street in Belle Isle. Okay, but a lot of people are against it, and Benny Napoleon said, of course, he's against that.
Oh,
too.
he's against it as well?
Right.
Wow.
They figured there are different things that can be done, but why weren't these things done
Done
a long
already.
time ago?
Yeah.
It's,
Nothing's
you
been
know, it's
done.
just time to implement some things now. And I, from what I hear, people's biggest objection to it is they're taking this away from us. It's that still that them versus us mentality.
But that wasn't the first option. The first option was that they would just take over. They, being the state, would
Yeah.
take over. They would charge a nominal fee.
I
It wasn't.
remember
It
that.
wasn't anything excessive. And then after X amount of years, then the city would take back over Belle Isle. And the city council voted it down.
And they took the offer off the table.
Okay, another quick thing that I found right up my alley was McDonald's. So, someone want to tell the audience what's happening?
Well, it looks like they're going to offer salad and fruit as a side as opposed to just fries, and that's great. They were doing that with the Happy Meals the
Yeah.
last few
Right.
years, so I guess now for the big kids, well, I don't eat McDonald's, but folks who
I don't
go there
either.
will have healthier choices, which is great.
Well, one day I had to have something to eat in a hurry, so I went through Wendy's. And with the number one or whatever, it's always fries. And I really don't want fries, but they lock it into you. If you get a hamburger and a drink, it ends up costing more than
Yeah.
the combo.
Yeah.
And so, because the fries are there, I have to eat the fries. I mean, I should just toss them right out. But I think that this is a good move in the right direction to offer fruit and everything. I just think that that's a move in the right direction because
Absolutely.
sometimes you just want a salad or want fruit or want to be able to have that choice.
Now, you know, Burger King has the low-calorie fries now. They're supposed to be less calories. So you should try those. I don't know how much less, but it's
But the
supposed to
big
be
thing
less.
with McDonald's is not just fruit. It's vegetables, salad. So it'll be interesting to see what the vegetables are too as well.
I don't know.
Maybe carrot sticks or celery or something like that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you never know. You never know. But, for those of us who are trying to lose weight, we want to at least go under the idea that we're seeking out health, healthy foods. Now, we were talking about the Women's Bill of Rights or the Black Woman's Bill of Rights last time. We said we'll pick one thing out of that every time. And let's look at number 5. You have the right to date and marry outside your race without being called a sellout or a gold digger. You also have the right to reproduce with your partner of a different race without being told that your sole purpose of reproducing with this person was to make sure your children had good hair.
Oh, wow.
And then Michelle, my producer, told me that she knew somebody who kind of did that.
Who did
Wow.
Married someone for
Married
that purpose?
outside the race so that their children would have different kind of
In
hair.
quotes, different texture, good hair.
That's
That
that's
makes
not
me
an
cringe.
automatic though.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's not
That
guaranteed.
doesn't always happen.
It might be a little thick and curly.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
And it's your definition of what good hair is.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. I think you have good hair. I think I have good hair. I mean, or what
that
good?
term just
I
makes
hate that term.
term makes me
I
cringe
hate-
every
Ooh.
time I hear it. It
That
does.
makes me
like,
cringe, just like light-skinned and dark-skinned.
Skinned.
I just hate that. I just hate that.
Ended.
But marrying outside your race, do you think that that's become more acceptable?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I do, definitely.
Yeah.
I
As
do.
it should be.
And that's why I absolutely love and adore the Cheerios commercial.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Kudos for Cheerio.
Absolutely.
I think they're the first one to do that.
They
aren't
did. They were, and it was awesome. it
But
was
I
amazing.
see more interracial couples in commercials now.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a truism. It's a part of life. I know. I mean, seriously, because my granddaughter, she says, she pretends she's talking to her grandmother on the phone. And they said, "Oh, which grandmother are you talking to?" And she says, "The brown one." So,
Oh, that's
I
hilarious.
mean, it's a whole different thing that's coming up here. But have you heard that people say that about people who marry outside their races? Can I just have some thought on that for you? from
People,
you?
have we heard what about the hair?
About or people being a sellout or a gold digger or what are you doing? or being
Definitely, you
criminal?
hear it all the time, especially if you're in the limelight. Say an NFL player or a basketball player. As soon as you see a NBA player and he marries someone of a different race, it's always a big thing or an issue. But the reality of it is, you marry, you date, you procreate with who treats you right, who you love, who you want to be with. Because what you do doesn't necessarily affect me and what I'm doing in my home. So I say you love, you date, you marry who you want to.
Yeah.
Why do you think people are like that?
It goes back to slavery. Why you had the paper bag test? We've always
And that's even
had
more
it.
recent than slavery.
Yeah, exactly. We have, I mentor young ladies, and part of the things that we discuss, or one of our sessions is about, how they feel about themselves. And you'd be amazed how many little girls said that they've tried bleaching creams. And I was just devastated. So this goes back, it's deep rooted.
Yeah. And it's perpetuated because honestly, I didn't realize that there was such a divide until I got to college. Seriously, I didn't realize that because I grew up and my parents exposed us to different cultures. We were friends with people of different ethnic backgrounds. I mean, we would stay with people, white friends and family. When they went on vacation, they would stay with us.
Right.
So I did not know until I got to college that there was such a big issue with things such as skin color, hair texture, and things of that sort. And it shocked me. I said, was I living in a bubble? But it wasn't so much of a bubble. It's the fact that my parents and my family and my core group did not perpetuate this stigma.
My mother didn't either. My mother didn't either because we were raised that, we were just part of every man.
Yeah.
Of course, life will tell you that you're black or white,
Right.
anyway. But it's just so unfortunate. And my daughter, I'll never forget my daughter Courtney. I was introducing her to another black woman. And the woman says, "Oh, but she's a pretty dark girl."
That's
I
number
wanted to
6.
slap the mess out of that woman. How dare you? What are you saying? What are people saying like
But
that?
it's ingrained. But you know what, Brenda? I honestly believe it's dissipating. There's still segments,
You
and
do?
will always be segments of the population that perpetuate it. Because, like I said, you'll hear it in some families' conversation where they'll talk about good hair, bad hair. But you won't hear that in my home, So my kids are not going to perpetuate
Right.
that. So there's more and more people who that's just not part of the vocabulary or anything we give attention to.
That's
So
right.
we don't have to worry about that festering and just manifesting itself to the next generation and the next generation. Even the whole pretty dark skin type thing.
Oh, I just hate that. Or saying a man, even though he's dark, is fine. I think that's Idris Elba. But I just think that is, sorry about that. Sorry.
Or Driss for short.
Yes.
I call him Driss. Unfortunately, sorry about that, ladies. I just can't help it. I just love that man. Ladies, it's almost that time to bring on our guests, so we're going to get ready to go to a break. Thank you all for that.
Thank you, Brenda.
And we will see the ladies back in a couple of weeks, and we didn't even get to, and we'll know who your guest is for the multimedia.
Yeah, I guess I'll tell you. I don't know.
You know now?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
know.
I've
just
been
keeping
asking
secrets.
her.
But I'm just waiting. It's a media thing.
Okay.
You
Whisper
gotta
it. Whisper
Build
it.
up. Build up. Like, who is it? Who is
I've been there from the beginning.
No, you were there when it was just on a piece of paper
Oh, jeez.
and a sandwich. But anyway.
Okay. All right. All right. Everybody will be back in just a moment with our guests. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Welcome back again to Table Talk with Brenda Perryman. And I am so excited today to introduce you to Carol Burrell Jackson, right?
Yes.
Of Power Incorporated, and Mr. Lawrence.
John Lawrence.
John Lawrence. I was going to say James, who is a jazz musician, and we could get all 4 of us in the shot here. A jazz musician, and I want you to hear about this fundraiser that's coming up. It's very exciting, and Power Incorporated is an excellent, excellent group. So why don't you talk to us about it? Welcome to the show. I know you're spinning. And we have Cheryl, whose uncle was, well, she's one of our regulars, and her uncle is a composer
Jazz pianist.
and jazz pianist James Williams. So,
Well, I'm glad you asked me. Power Inc. stands for People Organized, Working, Evolving, Reaching, and we're a faith-based community development corporation serving Washtenaw County. One of the things that we really stress is building community. We don't just serve clients. One of the things we want to try to do is help them to move beyond their circumstance of poverty, their circumstance of debt, their circumstance of emotional woundedness, to the point where they can help and help others and build the community at large.
excellent.
So we do that through a number of program efforts that fall in the areas of housing and economic development, family support programming, counseling and clinical services. And we also have a very extensive internship program. In fact, I like to brag on that one because we've been taking interns since 2000, and we have relationships with over 14 universities in the state and outside of the state. And since 2000, we have had over 200 interns come through our doors in graduate programs. Most recently, we actually hosted some international students from the University of Hong Kong.
Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And you guys, now this is in Washtenaw County?
Yes, we service Greater Washtenaw County and parts of Western Wayne County.
Oh, good.
And we've actually had people drive from Troy.
Oh, wonderful,
to receive
wonderful,
services
wonderful,
from-
wonderful, wonderful. So how long has Power Incorporated been around?
We've been in existence since 1995. In fact, we were the vision of the late Apostle Robert Hill, who was the founding pastor of Christian Love Fellowship Ministries International in Ypsilanti. He had a vision for an agency that would touch the people that the church may never see. We wanted to be in a community-based arm of the church, and this is really the result of his vision coming to pass.
Oh, wow, this is exciting. And Mr. Lawrence, you are a jazz guitarist, right?
That's right.
And I want to kind of get Cheryl into the conversation here, because your uncle, well, why don't you tell some people about your uncle, and we'll tie it into Mr. Lawrence.
Okay. My uncle was James Williams from Memphis, but he lived in New York. He went to Berkeley, ended up playing with Art Blakely and the Jazz Messengers in 1977. Moving forward, he was a dean of jazz studies at William Patterson University in New Jersey when he passed away. But more people probably have heard his music if you're, in the hip hop era. He wrote the music to Cool Like That. It was originally called Stepping. He wrote that when he was
Is
with
that
Art
cool
Blakely.
like that? Cool like
Right,
that?
I'm Cool Like That, yeah.
Diggable.
Diggable Planets. So they sampled that, and that was really the first time that jazz and hip hop had done a collaboration, and it done really well. It won a Grammy for that
Wow. And he passed away. I
in
remember,
2004. Yes.
I remember that very, very well. And you're a jazz guitarist, right?
That's right. And I'm also the department chair of the performing arts at Washtenaw Community College.
Oh, wow. I'm
And,
into that. I'm I was chair of fine and performing arts at Southfield, but I was in the theater wing of it, and we had the band and all of
Right.
that.
That's
Did you
right.
start playing in high school?
I started playing when I was 9.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I've been playing, and I'm 58 now.
Oh, you told.
So yeah, I don't mind. I'm proud. I'm proud of it, and I still practice every day, and I'm still growing
Where did you grow up?
in Ypsilanti.
Oh, really?
Born and raised in Ypsilanti.
I went to Eastern. I got my master's and bachelor's there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah. And I lived on I don't want to tell you all the places. But anyway, you're having a fundraiser, right?
Yeah, I'm in concert on October 4th at 7 o'clock p.m. at Washtenaw Community College's Charles Lee Auditorium. And what we're doing is we're trying to raise money for the Power Inc., Power
great.
organization. And I put together an all-star band.
I think we have something of yours on DVD. As soon as that's ready, we can start playing that. As soon as that's ready. So, wow, I love the jazz guitar because there are a lot of famous. Oh, I hear it. I hear it. Well, that's a little of the music. If we get a chance to get it up so we can visually see it, but it sure sounds beautiful.
Thank you.
And is the jazz guitar your only instrument?
That's right. That's the only instrument. And actually, I play. I don't call myself a jazz guitarist. I call myself a guitarist that can play jazz, but I can also play other styles as well.
Have you played with any other bands?
Yeah, I played. I used to be the musical director for Carl Carlton when he had the song "She's a Bad Mama Jamma."
He was just over here at the studio not too long ago, and he's redone. He's a bad mama.
That's right.
She's a bad mama jamma.
Right.
I always say
Yep.
he's a bad mama jamma. But anyway, what I'm so excited about is the fact that you have our own Al McKenzie
That's right.
on there with you in the concert. And Al McKenzie, he'll be on the show in 2 weeks. He'll be on my morning show.
Okay.
I'm kind of like a part of his little consortium there. And as we know, everybody, Al was the musical director of The Temptations.
That's right. For
Right.
many years.
Many years, and you all are going to have such a great time.
Right. I've got on rhythm guitar David Miles.
David, I know
You know David Miles?
Oh my God!
I told you, I got an all-star band. I got David Miles. You know, he used to play with George Duke and Stevie Wonder.
I know.
I've got Al Duncan, who plays with Earl Klugh,
Right.
and I've got Racy Biggs, who's played with trumpeter, who's played with everybody.
Everybody.
You know, every Motown act there was, and in every jazz group out there, he plays with Kim.
Right. He
You know,
does. He does.
And so I put together an all-star group for this because we really wanted to do something special for Power.
And here's the Sound of Power concert, and let's review where it is again.
It's going to be at Washtenaw Community College.
Where is that located?
That's in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And it's going to be in Towsley Auditorium, which is located in the Morris Lawrence building. And the time is going to be 7 p.m.
And the tickets can be purchased online.
Yes, at www.powerclf, that's ClearanceLarryFrank.org. And there's a link where you can purchase your tickets online. You will be able to purchase at the door, but understandably, we want to know who we can expect.
Right.
And,
Well,
You know.
you know, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
with some of our cousins
Yeah, and play cousins too.
and play cousins, we wait till the last minute, but we want to make sure to get
Yes.
people to this concert.
Yes.
And people can contact you by calling area code 734-961-1990. 734-961-1990. And I am very excited about this because to go hear an evening of jazz, go to one of the nice restaurants in Ann Arbor, that makes for a full evening.
Yes.
That's right.
And if you haven't seen Al McKenzie, well, you know, all of these are home people. Racy Biggs,
That's right. From Detroit.
home people.
And I have on saxophone Yancey. Have you ever heard of Yancey?
Of course,
All
yes.
right.
Oh my
Yancey,
God.
I've got the whole power band. That's what we're going to call them, the power band.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because Teddy Harris Jr., do you know Teddy? Oh, there you go. There you go.
Okay.
Where's your face? I'm silly. Charleston could tell you I'm like that. I was their teacher, so. You can tell you know what you're doing. There you go.
So smooth. And he's done this for us before, by the way.
Really?
Yes.
It's the second concert.
Yes. This one we're honoring our outgoing executive director. She was one of the founders, Denise Brown. This is going to be a real special night.
And bravo, 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 bravo,
Thank you,
bravo.
thank you.
Now, I think people should learn about this organization too, because
Yes.
it's an organization, Power Incorporated, that can help so many people. You have financial
Yes.
workshops.
Yes.
I mean, how to manage your money,
Oh my God.
and you deal with the homeless.
Yes, we prevent homelessness. In fact, we have a specific program for homeless families where one of the parents may have a disability, and we provide supportive subsidized housing. And the goal is to keep them stable, but also to help them to increase their income. And sometimes actually, there's one young lady that increased her income and she's working at the Veterans Hospital, and probably making more than me. But but those are the kinds of things. We want people to come out of poverty.
Absolutely.
And we have a program
Now,
for first-time home buyers.
How can? Oh, really?
Yes.
How can my viewers call or find out information about this?
Well, visiting the website, there's a lot of information at www.powerclf.org. You can email us at info@powerclf.org. Some of the programs are targeted for Washtenaw County only. Other programs, such as the financial literacy, we call it Family Financial Academy. You get a better relationship with money, but that's open to the general public, and the counseling's open to the general public. And
Wow.
and we may be able to direct you in terms of home buying programs that are taking place in Wayne County.
Isn't that something? So, ladies and gentlemen, you need to go to that website or call. Can I have the website address again?
Yes, www.powerclf.org. And then the
Okay.
phone number is 734-961-1990. I must profess, though, that we're closed on Fridays.
Oh well.
So
but
check
they
us out Monday morning.
they
You can leave a
hold it
message
till
and
Monday, because our thing here is to help everybody and to get people empowered to
Yes.
be able to maneuver this society just as
Yes.
freely as they want to.
yes.
And I just want to tell you that this is going to be a wonderful concert. This is exciting. So, ladies and gentlemen, October 4th at Washtenaw Community College. Exciting. You can get your tickets.
Online.
www.powerclf.org. We've said this before. And I have a lot of jazz lovers out there. My people are jazz lovers, and they love it. And just sit back, relax, and chill. Maybe I'll get a date and come.
I got tickets.
I know you do. And we will see Mr. John Lawrence and that power band.
All right.
And ladies and gentlemen, join us next week. Once again, next Friday. I'd like to thank you all for coming on. I'd like to thank the Smiths for bringing you and contacting me about it, because this is exciting.
Can I offer you 2 tickets to come?
Oh, sure.
Aw, that's nice.
Sure,
I would love
sure.
to have you as a guest.
I would really try that. I would really try. We'll talk about that offline.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I'll see you all next week.